Good morning, everyone. I'm Gerard Paulo F. Villanueva from the University of the Philippines, Manila, College of Medicine, Masters of Science in Health Informatics, Ethical Informatics Unit, and I will be your moderator for this morning. Our time now is 9 o'clock in the morning, and we're live from Information Management Services Office here in University of the Philippines, Manila. And the platform that we are using for this webinar is Cisco WebEx Meeting Center. So before we formally start with our webinar, here are a few reminders for this meeting. The participants will be held in mute during the topic discussion. The participants will only be allowed to post their questions on the question and answer dialog box. Third, you can send your feedback by clicking the feedback button on the right side of your screen below the participants window. On the drop-down, you can respond by yes or no, say if the presentation is too fast or too slow, and you can even appreciate the speaker with an applause and send your virtual laughter. Fourth, all questions should be addressed to me, and I will be consolidating the questions that will be addressed during the question and answer session. If you are encountering problems during the webinar, please log out the session and try to rejoin the meeting room. After the webinar, kindly check your email for the post-test and webinar evaluation form. So, before we start with the topic discussion, let's have a simple pretest evaluation, and I will be posting the link for the pretest form. Please just check your chat box. This is just a simple pretest with 5-item questions, and I will give you 3 minutes to answer this pretest. Thank you. The link is already posted in the chat box. Please try and answer the 5-item question. 5-item pretest evaluation. Please type on the chat box if you're done with the pretest evaluation. Thank you very much. Shalito, are you done with the forms? Raymond Hoy, are you done with the forms? Yadanar, are you done with the forms? Jonard, are you done with the forms? Thank you, Anika, for accomplishing the forms. Chris Irwin, are you done with the forms? HR, are you done with the forms? Sa'yo po naka-clear. Again, thank you, Anika, Nirma, Abby, Raymond, Chris, and Carl Dwight, and also HR for answering the forms. So thank you everyone for answering the forms. We will now start with the uh, topic session, and I will be introducing our speaker for today. I am so pleased to be with you this morning and to have the chance to introduce our webinar speaker, Dr. Christine May Magtubo. She is a graduate of Doctor of Medicine from University of the Philippines, Manila. She also graduated from Developmental Academy of the Philippines with Masters of Public Management. She is a former Doctor to the Barrio assigned in Leyte, and at present, she is the project manager of RxBox 2 and a research associate 3 of the National Telehealth Center of the National Institutes of Health. Without further ado, I introduce you Dr. Christine May Magtubo.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me today. I'd like to thank the organizers of this event, that's the EHUM Secretariat, for lending us this platform this morning, and Gerard for allowing me to speak with you. Perhaps before I proceed with the presentation of the RX box, it would be useful for us to view a short YouTube video. So the link should be in your chat boxes right now. It's just a short 5-minute introductory video that we can watch together to introduce you better to the topic. And then when you finished watching the video, maybe you can give us a yes or done in the chat box. If that's all right.
Hello everyone. Are you having difficulties in viewing the video? Are you able to see the link sent by Dr. KM? Thank you very much, Raymond, for the reply. Good morning again, everyone. If you're done with watching the video, please let us know by typing done watching. Thank you very much.
All right, so I guess we've we've finished watching the video, or at least some of you have. Anyway, it's uploaded on YouTube, so you can just uh connect anytime you want and watch the video. Perhaps we should proceed with the presentation. So this will be a very short presentation about the RX box, and should you have any problems with the screen sharing, just notify me through chat, or maybe notify Gerard through chat. So the RX box 2, the formal title of the research activity is Integrating Medical Devices into the National Telemedicine Service Program, and as introduced, I am Dr. Magtubo. The RX Box 2 is a so Gerard gave me the following session objectives. They're quite lengthy, but we'll cover them very quickly. So the RX Box 2 is one of the research programs being managed currently by the National Telehealth Center. The center was born in 1998 when the UP Board of Regents signed off on its creation, and primarily we're concerned with delivering e-health in empowered communities. So our bias really is in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas, public health and community health. And we started with just delivering telemedicine services, and now we're also developing ways to incorporate policy and governance into the things that we do. The RX Box is, as I said, one of the programs that we're currently running. It's funded by the Department of Science and Technology, and is done, as you've seen probably in the video, in collaboration with two other agencies. That's the UP Diliman Electrical and Electronics Engineering Institute and the DOST Advanced Science and Technology Institute. So basically what we did is we took a program that's already existing in the National Telehealth Center, and that's the National Telemedicine Service Program, and we incorporated medical devices into that program. The main objective of the research is to develop a locally manufactured product. So everything in the RX Box, hardware and software, are produced in the Philippines, except for the sensors, which we do import. So it's semi-locally manufactured, I guess you could say. As I said, our bias is in the rural, also urban, disadvantaged areas. We trained health workers in using the technology and looked at how the program may be able to strengthen public health service delivery at the grassroots level. And then we looked at the factors for adoption. Basically, what would make it possible for health workers to use this in their line of work? What would make it easy for them to incorporate it in their workflow? And what would make it acceptable to their patients in general? So the program is anchored with the DOST mandate for a smarter Philippines to apply emerging technologies to improve delivery of government services, increase competitiveness of industry, resulting to countryside development and inclusive growth, and addressing national concerns. Likewise, it's anchored on Kalusugang Pangkalahatan, which is universal healthcare, the battle cry of the Department of Health. So this is the RX Box. I'll be going through the components of the research program. So it has a recessed tablet with processors inside. It has an ECG sensor, thermometer, sphygmomanometer, that's a blood pressure monitor, pulse oximeter, which measures your pulse rate and your oxygen saturation, and your maternal and fetal heat, which essentially measures the fetal heart rate against the contraction of the uterus to create graphs which would tell you about the fetal well-being. It also comes hand in hand, incorporated into the program is CHITS, another innovation of the National Telehealth Center, which stands for the Community Health Information Tracking System. Essentially, this is an electronic medical record, and we included this in order to promote paperless service delivery, increase efficiencies in the ground level, also to enable rural health units and health centers to become more efficient in information management through the inclusion of our reports, which mirror almost exactly the same reports that they do submit to the DOH. Finally, third program component is the National Telehealth Service Program. So how this works is, this is basically our telemedicine service. The patient comes into the clinic of a doctor in a remote area, and should a referral be needed for advice or consultation, that doctor can send an SMS or email to NTSP Central, which we receive and forward to clinical specialists in the Philippine General Hospital. We're actually already in 2 other regional hospitals. That's the Baguio General Hospital in the Cordillera Administrative Region and the Eastern Visayas Regional Medical Center in Region 8. And we have a whole spectrum of specialties on which they can consult. When the clinical specialist receives the message and forwards an advice, we receive it again and forward it to the doctor. So what we've seen as a result of the NTSP really is a decrease in unnecessary travel, specifically for people living in islands or isolated communities who would need to travel 4 hours, maybe more, spend a little over 200 pesos just to get an advice from a specialist. So aside from protecting people from unwanted expenditure, it also enables the health system to become overall more efficient. We anchored the program into what we call the 6 R's of workflow in a local health center. You may or may not be familiar with this workflow, but basically in a local health center setting in the Philippines, patient comes in, you register the patient, you retrieve the records, you give care. If it's warranted, you refer the patient, you record the findings, and then you do your report. So, in essence, all of the 3 components of the RxBox program, the RxBox device, CHITS, and NTSP, play into the 6 R's of the workflow. So, CHITS is used to register the patient. If the patient is a pregnant patient or somebody in need of a diagnostic, we use the RxBox. And then the doctor access the data from the RxBox that's stored in CHITS in his or her office. So there's no need to really walk around since everything is connected by a local area network. There's really also no need for an internet connection, and that's why this project has seen success even in remote areas, because internet connection is not necessary to function. So the doctor then renders care, and then if referral is needed, we can refer to the NTSP. And then the nurse or the clerks can do their reports through CHITS. So basically what we did is to intervene in every part of the workflow so that everything is more efficient and everything flows better. So what was the plan? The program is divided into 3 projects. Currently, we're in Project 3, which is the field deployment of telemedicine devices. The first project was headed by ASTI, or the Advanced Science and Technology Institute, and that was really about seeing if we could integrate, if it would be possible to integrate a commercial device with existing technologies of the National Telehealth Center. And then for Project 2, EEE really developed a software and hardware components which are locally manufactured. This is what we call the ENI, which stands for the Electronic Natal Assistive Intervention. And then Project 3 is about deploying all of these units to the field, looking at what's the best model for training and for monitoring and giving support. So the project timeline, in 2007, the first RxBox was presented. It was originally created for trauma cases. So at the very first, this is the very first RxBox. It's really big. It's very crudely put together. It was deployed in 4 health centers, but saw very limited use because of the weight and the problems with the sensors. They weren't medical grade. So it saw very limited use. In 2011, they presented a possibility of using instead a tablet for the computer component of the RX box, and then shifting the concentration from trauma to maternal and child health. So this is when the INAI application was born. And then in July 2013, we started deploying these devices to the field. These are alpha devices. We had rural and urban sites. We included, in our concentration, non-communicable diseases, and this was the old version of CHIPS and NTSP. In April 2014, we shifted from a field deployment into a centralized deployment, which we call a super user training of trainers, during which we only invite 4 representatives from each of our partner sites, and they come to Manila for a 4-day intensive training instead of what we did before, that we came to their areas for 5 or more days to train everyone in the staff. Aside from cost issues, the reason we did this is to fast track the deployment and also to discover if we would be able to create more trainers as well in the field. So that was really the reason. April also saw the birth of the ECG application, the new chips, and our issue tracking system, which came about because of delays in resolving issues associated with the box. So we needed to institute a tracking system which utilizes free and open source software. So this is the April version of the device. And then finally in July, we have this really nice manufactured version. These are our production units. These are all HL7 to prepare for the Philippine Health Information Exchange. We also implemented the National Telemedicine Service, which is an improvement of the NTSP. And the housing, I'd like to make note of the housing because we were able to reduce the volume by about a third by just reconfiguring the housing. So basically, this final model that you see on the bottom right of your screen is what we're deploying right now. So the video wasn't really updated. We're now in 95 health centers in all the regions of the Philippines. Actually, this map is also not updated because we've already penetrated Zamboanga. We're in 48 provinces. We've trained more than 600 health workers serving around 1.5 million Filipinos every day. So I'd like to share some of our research findings finally. I can't really share all of the data that I have because the research is still ongoing, but we do see that the average use rate is about 4 per week, which means they use the box 4 times a week, almost every day. So almost every day, the range is from once a week to 15 times a week. This would vary a lot based on the population of the areas. Of course, for areas with less than 5,000 people, you don't expect them to use the box every single day. The sphygmomanometer is still the most used sensor. So we feel it is because of the familiarity of the health workers with the sphygmomanometer baseline. So they're really more comfortable to use that. ECG is the least used because it's a little bit more difficult to use, requires a bit more training, although we do train them on how to place and how to use the ECG. It's probably more the comfort with the technology as well. Most of the telemedicine referrals are cardio. So these are ECG readings or opinions and ECG tracings. And most of the issues that revolved around the issues that we gathered, problems in implementation revolved around using chips because it's very you would need at least 2 computer units, all of those things. And then most of the issues from the device is hardware. So we expect sensor breakdown. If you bring these devices to the mountaintops and you ride a motorcycle, the motorcycle would shake your backpack around and probably break one of the sensors. So we do see that. And then the use is limited by available infrastructure. For areas with a limited supply of power, say you only have 6 hours of power, of course the use would be limited. We also saw a sharp decline in our average use rate during typhoon season. So Typhoon Yolanda, of course, and Typhoon Glenda affected our site. Um, for the factors for adoption, we note that good leadership, this is from the municipal health officer or the doctor in the area, is critical for for the project to be well implemented in the area. I've already noted the importance of ICT infrastructure and community support. Most of our areas which have been successful really conducted intensive information education campaigns within their communities to increase acceptability of the device and the program components. Among the most appreciated features of the program are the client support infrastructure that we instituted, wherein they can call and email a hotline and somebody would answer. We also trained a local IT specialist in order to address their problems firsthand in the community. And then our attention to workflow integration were among their most appreciated features. We do observe some improvement in health outcomes. For example, in one of our sites in Batuan, Masbate, they noted an increase in facility-based deliveries from around 52% to 95%. However, these are not directly measured by our current research. So they're observed but not currently measured. Finally, what we observed that the RX box does for the local health system is to improve patient care by improving diagnosis and treatment. Um, we improve, we have a smarter health information management systems which supports decisions of the local leaders, specifically in where to invest and how to deliver the best care with the few resources that they have, eventually leading to smarter public health and a smarter Philippines. The battle cry of the program is to advance community health care, and in the 95 sites thus far wherein we've deployed the program, we do see 6 class municipalities being modeled by their provinces by being models of efficiency in public health and being um, inspiring health centers in their own local setting. So what we want is to prove that just because you're that it doesn't necessarily follow that just because you're in a rural or remote area, you can't have access or you can't provide quality healthcare to your constituents. That you can do it, it is doable, and it's doable through the RX box. So thank you very much for listening. That's the end of my short presentation. Maybe Gerard can modify some of the questions and I can answer.
So far, we have 5 questions from Raymond Uy, and I will also give chance to other attendees. They can send their questions in our Q&A box in the lower right portion of the screen. And you can send your questions through that chat box. So our first question is, how much is the total cost of manufacturing and components of RxBox 2?
Okay, so for the total cost of manufacturing, it's around 100,000 pesos per unit. Um, the problem really there is that it's not yet, we don't have the economics of quantity. You could say probably we're producing too little. So the cost tends to rise. But the projection from our engineers is that once we do get the commercial quantities, we can lower the cost to 50,000 to 65,000 per unit.
Thank you, Dr. Montubo. And another question from Sir Raymond is it possible to have access to the OpenMRS module that interfaces with RxBox 2?
Who would have access? How do you mean, is it possible to have access to the OpenMRS module that interfaces to RxBox? Well, the health workers have access to CHIPS, and they do have access to the OpenMRS module. We teach this to the IT specialists. But in terms of us accessing their data, we would need their permission because in the end, they own their data. So we don't have access to their data, but they can access OpenMRS module.
So another question from Sir Raymond is, do you have a central server in UPNTHC that syncs or backstop the local patient database on the site?
Sorry, is there?
Do you have a central server in UP National Telehealth Center that syncs or backs up the local patient databases in the sites?
Okay, as I said before with the previous question, we don't own the data that the sites collect and gather, so we don't really have a copy or a backup of their data. What we do is we teach them to back up their data through a thumb drive, or we also have a site that backs up their data in the cloud. So that would depend really on the site, but the basic thing that we teach them is to to do their own backup. Basically, we don't store any of our partners' data in our servers.
Thank you for the answer, Dr. KM. And another question is from Mr. Luis Macabasag. What is your future plans for the RxBox project?
Okay, so actually we're already ending Project 3 in December. We're already 3 months overdue. So we're already having our final training this month. And we'll just be observing the sites. We proposed for another funding which would take the RxBox project to the regional levels. So it's really more the idea of creating super users, but now we want to create, I guess you could say, super trainers, because we would be engaging with regional offices of the DOST and DOH in order to create regional training hubs for the RxBox, so that if you would like to engage with the program, you only need to go through the regional offices. You don't need to go through the National Telehealth Center anymore. That's one plan. Another plan is to beef up the research behind the RxBox and to explore other enhancements that we've been talking about, like maybe putting in a battery, making it a little bit smaller. How do we put in a printer? So those things. There's also the idea of RxBox 1000, which is 1,000 units by the end of 2016. But as of now, it's still very much a pipe dream, because commitments need to be made at the national level for that to come to fore. So what's in the future really is just more of regionalization. Yeah. Hello.
Thank you very much, Dr. KM. And another question from Erwin Mercado is, his message is, thank you very much for a very informative presentation on the RxBox. Can you describe the measures you do to ensure data security?
The what? Sorry, can you describe?
Can you describe the measures you do to ensure data security?
Okay. Our data security measures are very basic. So it's passwords and encryption. As I said, we don't really touch any of the data that our sites produce. They back their own data up. We offer them options depending on their ICT capability. The backup can be hardware or cloud or online if they want to. Um, and it's very basic. It's just data. It's just passwords and encryption.
Thank you very much, Dr. KM. And another a follow-up question from Chris Erwin Mercado. If okay to ask another one, how do you maintain the devices? Example is ensuring integrity and accuracy of RxBox measurement.
Okay. We are working under the regulatory authority of the DOH FDA, Bureau of Health Devices and Technologies. So that's one way of ensuring that the RX box is accurate. Is that partnership with the FDA. We're also, in terms of maintaining the integrity of the device, we're also looking into doing a full-fledged clinical medical device clinical trial, which has never been attempted in the Philippines, I am told, by the FDA. So there are a lot of things to navigate here, which is the reason why it hasn't been done. But in Project One, when we did Project One, we did look into the accuracy of the data being produced by the commercial device versus our device, and that did pass FDA requirements. So I guess in terms of the accuracy and the integrity, we're okay with that. But we do want to beef that part of the program up with a more structured research, which is the trial.
Okay, thank you again, Miss Dr. Magtubo. And for the last question from Raymond Boy, can I get a copy of chips?
I guess yeah, we can. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with the protocols. I said I manage just the RX box side, and as you've seen it, the RX box is really more a maturation of the different projects of the National Telehealth Center. So I guess that would entail some institutional arrangements, maybe letters, and then what the purpose would be of using sheets or having a copy of sheets. And then I also see that requesting for data for research if they're not collected and siloed, that would be theoretically possible. We just need to go through the institutional arrangements of of sharing that information and the technology with you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Magtubo. And I'm very sorry, but I think there's another question, and I think
Okay.
it's a good question. Any plans on expanding the RX box in Leyte, especially the worst hit areas during the Typhoon Haiyan?
Okay. So actually, we are populating the Yolanda corridor. So that's the Haiyan corridor. Those are the areas where Typhoon Haiyan really passed through last year. Uh, we are populating that area with the RX box. Actually, to date, I think we have the most sites already in Region 8. We already have four sites in Leyte. We have two sites in Northern Iloilo, I think. We have two sites also in Palawan. So we're populating that corridor because we see that that's also an area of maximum benefit for the project and for the Philippines to enable those health systems to recover.
Thank you very much, Dr. Magtubo. And due to time constraints, I think we need to end this webinar now. And for the summary, we are able to define RX box, state the group of people who will be using the RX box device, state the people and institutions involved in the RX box program. We're also able to define the historical milestones of the project, state the benefits that will be delivered by the project, and the functionalities and its limitations. We are also able to define the current versions and status of RxBox, and additionally, we're able to have research results given by Dr. KM. So thank you everyone for attending this webinar. And after this session, kindly check your emails for our follow-up message containing the link for our post-test and webinar evaluation. I would also like to thank Dr. Portia Marcelo, Director of UP National Telehealth Center, and Ms. Alia Evangelista, Secretariat of Asia eHealth Information Network and the AHIN Group. And thank you again, Dr. Christine May Magtubo, for accepting our request to be our speaker for this webinar. Once again, I'm Jared Paulo Villanueva from the University of the Philippines, Manila, College of Medicine, Masters of Science in Health Informatics, Medical Informatics Unit. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.